we were working on our equation format and seeing if someone set up their equation correctly. Thursday, we finished that equation setup. Okay, so today we're just going to look at slope. Slope, which we know is also called growth. Okay, so unfortunately, as you can see here, there is not enough space to show any work. There's not. So we're going to go ahead and have to add a page onto Cami. Do you remember how to add a page onto Cami? Can someone tell me in the chat, what do we need to do to add a page into Cami? What do we need to do to add a page into Cami? Yeah, go all the way down to the bottom and click the plus sign and add a page in. We just need one page, it's fine. Worst case scenario, if we need a second page because you write big, you can scroll and add another page after. Okay. It doesn't limit you on how many pages you can add. It's just if you know for sure you need like 2 pages right away, then it gives you the option to put 2 on right away and stuff. All right, so we're at the top and we're looking at the graph. And we need to figure out the slope, which we know is growth, of these different lines, and they're labeled. So for each line, we need to get the 2 points. Notice there is a point. I'm going to darken it up. There's a point right here. Oops. Maybe. Oh, let's use red so it shows up. And the right feature. It's right. Okay. So there's a point right here for A. And then I follow the A line. This is my A line. And there's another one right here. So we need to get those 2 points. And then we're going to use them down below. So first, let's go get some addresses on these various points. Let's go make these points darker, though. I want to make them red, though. I'm going to make the points, I'm turning the points into red because I feel like I can see them better if they're red. We're going to go get all the labels on all the points. We're going to figure out which ones go for each line, and then we're going to go do some math down below on the page we added on. So let me get these all marked. I think they stand out much better. And let's zoom in and let's start getting coordinates onto the graph like we know every single graph is supposed to have. But for some reason, I still see people turning in graphs that just have dots on them. They don't even have labels on their x-axis. They don't have any labels anywhere. They're just dots on a graph. That's craziness. Okay, so we're not worrying about filling in that part right now. What we're going to do is go get the addresses, the coordinates for all of these dots. Okay? So if I'm going to come to this very top dot, what would be the coordinates of that very, very top dot, the highest one that I'm pointing at right now and highlighting? What would my parentheses be for it? I don't think it's -7 because this doesn't look like negative numbers to me for some reason. And we always talk about the left and right before we talk about the up and down. Okay. So the numbers are close. It's super close. But we always talk about how much over and then how much up or down. So how much over did we go? And then how much up or down? Did we go up or did we go down? Did we go up or did we go? We went up, so that's why it's positive. So you have the numbers close, but they are a 2,7, not a 7,2. You always count the right and left first, okay? All right, so there's our first one. Let's go to our next coordinate, this next top one. What's that one's coordinate down? This one right here. 3, 6. Nice. 3, 6. Okay. We're going to do this one that's right next to it. What's that? The 5 doesn't have a negative on it. The 5, that's where the line went through and they chopped the graph off. So that does this does look confusing, like it's a -5, but it's not. They had the graph, they had the lines, and they chopped it off partway, and a little bit of the line showed on the other side of the 5. Yeah. So what did we say this one was again? Yeah, 7, 6. Good. So don't worry about seeing the numbers on the side. Count the spaces. Okay. Count the spaces, and remember, up is positive. Ignore that had a minus sign looking thing on it. Because when they're cutting and pasting, sometimes they can't always get it as perfectly as they'd like. Okay, let's see. How about this one over here? How about that one? What's that one? 0, 4. Yep, because we didn't go anywhere. We just went up. Nice. We're doing great. Let's go all the way down this row and get all these done. We have a 0, 4, right? Looks like we have a 0, 3, 0, 2, 0, 1, right? Those are all our zeros. So remember, whenever we're just straight up, we're 0, comma. If we're just sideways, we're number, comma, 0. Okay. So if we're on the X line, the number comes first and the 0 comes second. But if we're on the Y line, the 0 comes first and the number comes second. I'm gonna have to move 4 up a little bit so there's space for 1. Or make my number small, but I don't really feel like making my number smaller. There we go. Okay, we're gonna go back out. Someone start looking at one of the other points. Be ready. Oops, the comma comes before the 1. Now, what's another name for these ones that cross over the Y line that we learned yesterday? If I was making my equation, what would these be? If I was going to write an equation, 0, comma, numbers are what piece of our equation? Start values, the Y-intercept. Yeah, okay. So they gave us some Y-intercepts and they gave us other points out. How about this one? What's that one? 3, 3. Because I see it 3 over and 3 up. I got to move this guy who's way in the wrong spot. Okay, how about this one? The M is not the 0, comma. The 0, comma is always the B. 5, 3, thank you. Where I can put him. This is the other problem, finding a spot so you could do the fill background of white without it messing up the lines and stuff. Just got to do the best we can. 5, 3 is what we said this one was. We have one more. What is it? Maybe I won't do background fill on these two. Nine, 3. Yep. Thank you. Okay, I'm trying to get this fill to turn off, and it's not letting me. So worst case scenario, we do a new one that doesn't have it. Okay. And then I got to go put my address on this guy down here, 93. Now, all of these are very close, right? This is A, B, C, D, E, F, 6 different situations of lines. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to take down below line A's 2 points, line B's 2 points, line C's 2 points. All right. And then we're going to go do the work for it. Okay. So someone, what are the 2 points for A? Put them in the chat. Start putting the 2 points for each line in the chat. So then I can scroll down. Okay, so look at yours while I scroll down. Look at yours. Tell me line A and the 2 points, line B and the 2 points, so they're in the chat for us. Don't scroll yours until you tell me until we get the points in. So who can tell me the line A's 2 points? What were the 2 points for line A? So say line A and give me the 2 points, and then say line B and give me the 2 points. I don't want them individual. Say line A and then give me the 2 points. Get it? Thank you, Janessa. Somebody else do line B? Just like Janessa did line A, someone else do line B? Thank you. Someone else do line C? Someone else give me the 2 for C. Thank you. Someone else give me the D. I need D. Someone give me the 2 points for D. Thank you. 2 points for E. We need the 2 E points, please. Okay, and then we need the 2 F. We need the 2 F. Okay, that's E. Did you mean F? So this is what you're going to do. You're going to click on the equation button, right? So you're on the equation button, and you're going to go into the chat, and you're going to find line A, where they said line A and the 2 points, and you're going to copy it, and you get to come over onto Cami and paste it. That is why they're in the chat. Okay. So we need to go ahead and find the slope, find the change. How do we find slope? What makes slope again? Now what I am going to adjust is I'm going to take this line A part off and do it in text. But it's okay. It still got it quicker. Gotta find a way to move him over though. I gotta pick you up. What makes slope again? We're going to put it at the very top. What makes slope again? How do we find slope? Another name for slope was what? What's our other name for slope? Yes, growth. Okay, so how do we figure out growth? What were we doing? Remember, we wrote it out all the time in that one chapter. What do we do to figure out growth? What do we do? Starts with the word change. What do we do? Yes, we do know it's the letter M. Thank you. What do we do to figure out growth? Change of what? Yes, change of Y divided by change of X. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to label. And remember, we did one of these like this on the review on Wednesday, where we figured out that we have 2 points. This guy's too low. And we called those points X1, Y1 for the first one, and X2, Y2 for the second one, because we have 2 points. And between those 2 points on the graph, we could draw in the slope triangle, we could do all that stuff, but we don't have enough space on this graph. It'd be just too cluttered, right? So we're just going to do the math for it. We're going to find our slope by doing the change of Y over the change of X. So we have to look at the 2 Y's. Does it matter who we pick to be the first Y and the second Y? Really, no. If we're going to find the change, what math are we going to do to the 2 numbers that have Y on them? If we want to find the change, what math do we do? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? If we're finding change. Add, subtract, multiply, or divide if we're finding the change of something. Think about it. If I want to find the change between the 2 Y's, what am I going to do? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? If I want to find the change in the Y. If I want to find out how much the Y changed, am I going to add to do that, subtract to do that, multiply to do that, or divide to do that? Because isn't change just the same thing as saying difference? We want to find the difference between them. So what is the word difference? What does change mean? So if I said Lily is 17 years old and Charlie is 14 years old, what is the difference in their age? What would we do to find that? We subtract to find difference. We subtract to find change. We subtract. So it doesn't matter which Y we pick though. So 3 minus 1, that's my 2 Y's, correct? That's the change of the Y's. Now we have to do the same thing for the X's. So we have to start at the same spot, 3 minus 0, okay? So we're finding the difference. We're finding the change that happened. And most of the time we had it on the graph, so we just counted and we didn't think about the fact that that just meant that we were subtracting the numbers from each other. Okay, what does the top simplify to? Do the math. 2. What's the bottom simplify to? 3. Okay, we're going to do the same process for B, C, D, E, and F. So we're going to go in the chat and we're going to go get B. Or you just can go to the chat and look at the chat and type B out. Okay, so we have to do the same thing for B, C, D, E, and F. So first thing I got to say which one I'm doing. Ooh, this should say line, not Nina. Nina, I don't know what that is. Line, oops, nope. Line B. Equation. I don't know, I still have some people that are not using the equation editor and I haven't figured out why. We're going to do the same labeling as we did for A. Copy that over to above the B coordinates. You might have to put it and then shift it because of all the other little things going on. We're going to do the same calculation for slope as we did for A. So copy it and paste it. But the numbers are different because my Y, one says 7, one says 2. The 2 Y's, see, 7 and 2. And the X's say 2 and 0. So what do we get when we simplify it? Okay, yep. 5, and then the bottom would become what? Top becomes 5, bottom becomes, what's the bottom become? 2. Okay. We're doing the same thing for C. Okay. Not really difficult, right? Actually kind of easy once you figure out what's going on. Line C. Go get my coordinates. And they are 9, 3, 0, 1. Copy the same labels as we did above. Copy the same equation as we did below. Try and line them up as best as you can. That's the whole point, is that they're lined up. So see, we see that this is X2 because it's right above the 2. That's the goal for the labels that are above, to be right above the coordinates. But in Cami, sometimes we can't get them in a perfect spot. Okay, what are my 2 Y numbers that I'm going to be subtracting? What are my 2 Y numbers I'm going to be subtracting? 3, take away 1, that's fine. Now, since I started with the Y's on the first coordinate, I have to make sure I start with the X's of the first coordinate too, okay? So it doesn't matter which coordinate you pick, you just have to make sure whoever starts the Y is the same bubble that starts the X. So when I look top to bottom, it's one bubble, okay? So do our math. What are we gonna get? 2 over 9. Okay, so we're gonna be doing the same thing for D, E, and F. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this whole thing because I need 3 more. And instead of doing it one at a time, work smart, not hard. Copy, paste, shift it to where I want it, change the labels. Whoop. Right? Go back to my labels. Okay. We don't need this comment about slope again. We can take him out. This one's going to be D. This one's going to be E. And that one's going to be F. And we're going to go put the correct coordinates in a second. Okay. So we're looking for D. D is at 0, 3, 3, 6. I'm going to get all these changed. E is at 7, 6. And 0, 4. Give me 1 second. And F was 5, 3. And 0, 1. It doesn't matter the sequence. Okay. It doesn't matter that we put the intercept first or second, and none of that matters. Okay. Because you get to pick where you want to start, whichever parentheses you want to start with. It doesn't matter who goes first or who goes second. So if I'm looking at D, what are my Y's that I'm going to do? If I'm looking at D, what are my Y's? What am I going to say? How am I going to rewrite the top? What are the 2 Y numbers? Come on, we were on a roll. How are we going to adjust the top so it matches the Y's we have now? That's the question. How are you going to adjust the top so it matches the Y's we have right now? What are we going to say? It's not 3, 1. I see that's not the Y's for this one. What are the Y's for this one? Six minus 3. Okay, that's fine. Could I have done 3 minus 6? Yes. Since I started with 6 for the Y's, I have to start with the 3 for the X. Okay. So if I had decided to say 3, 6, then I would be doing 0, 3. Okay, so you just have to make sure wherever you start the Y level, you go back to that same parentheses for the X level. What are our values, please? 3, 3. Okay. Is that simplified all the way? No. What would it be if we simplify it? 1. Yes. 1. Okay. E. What are the Y's I'm going to pick? How am I going to set up the top level? On the Y's? We're here. We're on E. That says 7604. There's no 3, 1 in this one. We're doing E. So how would the top level look? 6, 4. Okay. And what was the X that was with the 6? What's the X that's with the 6? What's the X that's with the 6? The 7. So that's why we have to do 7, 0. Okay. Because we started with the 6 on the top level, we have to start with its buddy on the bottom level. That's the biggest thing. Wherever we start the top level, whatever parentheses is that top level, the same parentheses for the bottom level. Okay. So if we're going to do our math, what do we get? 2 7s. Okay, F. And then we get to translate this above. What's the top going to be? So we're going to do this one separate. We're going to do this one backwards so you can see it doesn't change anything. Okay, we're going to go with 1 for the Y and 3. So if I started at the 1 parentheses for the Y, where do I have to start the X parentheses? So if I chose to pick the Y that's the number 1, what's the X value that's with it? 0. And then I would subtract what's the X value with the 3? 5. So that the top to bottom are parentheses. Okay. Now, if I do 1 minus 3, what do I get? One minus 3, what do I get? A negative 2. And if I do 0 minus 5, what do I get? Zero, take away 5, what do we get? Negative 5. Is this simplest form? No. What can go away? What gets simplified out? So how would we say this as a simplified fraction? Because we know negative divided by negative is what? Negative divided by negative. So these negatives go away. So what's our simplified form? 2/5. Would that have been the same exact thing if we'd gone 3 minus 1 and 5 minus 0? Yes. So do not stress which one you pick to be the subtracting first and subtracting second. Just make sure you keep, wherever you start the Y level, you go back to that parentheses for the X. Okay? So we have to move all of these up above. Okay? So I need someone to be willing to stay on their page and put in the chat each of the answers so we can fill in the parentheses and you can come up and do yours in a second. So what did we say the slope was for A? 2/3. Okay. What did we say the slope was for B? 5/2. Thank you. What did we say the slope was for C? 2/9. Thank you. D. What's the slope for D? 1. Yeah, it's the simplest one. And then what's the slope for E? 2/7. And then F was 2/5, right? Okay, so go ahead and come on up and get your fractions done. I have no idea why they have a second equal sign. I don't. Okay. The slope of line A is 2/3. Now we're going to translate to what that means. Okay. Now we're going to translate to what that means. When I say 2/3, that means, and I'm going to change this down to 12, as X increases by 3, y increases by 2. Okay. Okay. Does that make sense? That's what the top says. That's what the bottom says. As x increases by 3, change of x, y increases by 2, change of y. And I'm actually going to go with an 11. No, maybe a 10. Because I want to keep them on the. So we're going to do the same kind of statement for all of them. We're going to translate them into motion. So what is the second one going to say? And I'm going to probably put him over here. Go back and forth with him. What would we say for B? As x increases by what number? What number stands for the x change? The x is the 5? Really? Look back at the last one. What number is the change of x? I don't think 5 is in the change of x level. So as x increases by 2, y increases by how many? As x increases by 2, y increases by 5. Yeah. Now we always discuss, oops, I just did that backwards. Whenever we're discussing movement, whenever we're discussing comparison, we always say the x first, because remember the x is the one that we are controlling. Okay, how about the next one? How are we going to say that one? As x increases by 9, y increases by 2. Yes. Okay. Keep going. We're going to stop and think what this is telling me. If I see the number 1, that means the changes were the same, right? Because to create the number 1, it was 2 of the same number. So this one says as x increases by 1, y increases by 1. So he was a little bit of a trick one because we didn't have a fraction top and a fraction bottom to work with. How about this one? What am I going to say for D? What am I going to say for D? As x increases by what? Seven. Y increases by 2. Okay, last one. What are we going to say? As x increases by 5, y increases by 2. Okay. So now they want us to arrange these in increasing order, okay? So we would put the fractions in least to greatest to be increasing order. Remembering that the fraction of 1 kind of is going to be in the middle, right? Because if I'm less than 1, I'll be smaller, and if I'm bigger than 1, I'll be bigger. Okay, so we have to first look at how many do we have altogether? How many lines do we have altogether? 6. Do we see any fractions that are improper fractions? Yes. So do we have more than one that's an improper fraction? No. So that improper fraction is going to be the highest because it has the most change in the upward direction. So what fraction do we have on our list that's an improper fraction? 5/2. So then we're going to work down from there. What's the next one on our list that's smaller than 5/2? Our whole number. Because everything else is a proper fraction, which means it's less than 1. Okay? So now we've got to rearrange the proper fractions, right? Now, what are we noticing about all the proper fractions? 2/3, 2/9, 2/7, 2/5. What do we notice they all have? Two on the top, right? Which means we're going to rearrange them from least to greatest, worrying about the bottom. Now, when we look at fractions, what makes a fraction smaller? A small number on the bottom or a big number on the bottom? Big numbers on the bottom. So since all the tops are the same, we just have to arrange them so the biggest numbers to the left and the smallest numbers to the right. So who's going to be the next one that's smaller than 1 then? Our proper fraction that has the smallest bottom is what? Yes, 2/3. And then our next proper fraction with the next smallest bottom would be what? Two-fifths. And then our next smaller bottom, and we end with our largest bottom, which is the 9th, right? Because we know that the bigger the bottom, the smaller the piece of the cake, because you're sharing with more friends, right? So they made it so all of the tops were the same. So then you just had to arrange the bottoms. Okay, that was kind of nice of them. So we're going to go repeat the process for the next one. Okay. Step 1, we have to go ahead and get our coordinate labels. So someone start giving me coordinates to put on our graph. I'm going to go change them to reds again. I like them better in red. Why don't we go handle these Y-intercepts first? What would these all be? Let's first go get the intercepts. 0, comma, give me the list. What's the highest 0 that we have? So I'm going to go get all of these right here, all of my Y-intercepts. First one is 0, comma, top one is 7, top one is 6, yeah, 0, 6. And then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 00, right? So these are easy ones. We're just going to copy and paste these down. Boom. I'm just going to get some on here and then I'll move them around. Don't worry about it. It's one of the things with camming you have to learn. Just get it on there and then move it where you need it. Okay, this one's going to be 5. And then I'm going to move them up to make a little space. 4. These are the easy ones. 2, 1. What's another name for that 00? When we have a Y-intercept that's 00. What do we call 00 on the graph? What's its special name? There's a word for this coordinate 00. Someone had told me that this A up here is 211. Thank you. Anybody want to give me a point that's on one of the other lines? We need all these other ones. We need F's dot, D's dot, E, B, all those dots. We need them all. What's that one? Make sure you tell me which line it's for. Okay, so line F is at 37. Thank you. Okay. So we have plenty that people can be putting out there. Go pick one. Tell me its letter, tell me its coordinates. You don't have to wait for me to point one out. Tell me a letter, tell me its coordinates. Tell me a letter, tell me its coordinate. G is at 11.3. Thank you. Let me go get it. B is at 5.4. Thank you. We still got other letters. Come on, we need to get all the letters done, guys. C is at 10.1. Okay. Who have we not done yet? We need to go get it done. Let me put it down. I don't see D and I don't see E. Which ones are those? E is at, is it E at 7.4 at 7.6? Let me see. Yeah, E is at 7.6. What about D? What about D? What's D's? That's our last one. Come on, guys, we need D and then we're done. 9.5? I don't think so. Because I see it's right above this one that says 7. 7.8. Oh, okay. Because I went up 2 from 7.6. So that makes sense. 7.8. Okay, so just like before, we need the pair. So someone say A and put its 2 coordinates, and B put its 2 coordinates, C put its 2 coordinates. Get those into the chat for me. So we need A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So we need 7 now. So I should see an A with its 2 coordinates and a B with its 2 coordinates and C and so on. Come on, guys, we need to get this going. Thank you. Keep going. We got A and we have B. We need C, D, E, F, G. So once you do one and put it in the chat, scroll down to our bottom, scroll down to our page we added in. We have A and B in there. I need C, D, E, F, and G. There's C. So we have A, B, C. We need D, E, F, G. We need the 2 coordinates that are on that line. D, thank you. Somebody else do E. Somebody else do F. Somebody else do G so that we can do one and then scroll down. Lex, let somebody else do them. Go on, scroll down. Somebody else put F in there and somebody else put G in there. Because Lex has done enough. She gets to scroll down. Okay, we're finding slope. Are we going to be doing something drastically different than we did for question 1? Thank you for F. We need G. Are we going to be doing a whole new process, or are we just going to do the same process, different numbers? We need G still in the chat, please. Are we going to do something completely different, or are we going to do the same thing, new numbers? Thank you for G. So everybody should be scrolled to the bottom now because they're all in the chat. So I'm asking a question. We are finding slope for this new set. Is our work going to be completely different? Same thing, new numbers. So I'm going to go copy and paste it. I'm not going to go ahead and retype all this. Forget that. So I'm copying and pasting the whole thing we did before. Except I'm moving down on the page with it. And I have to add in a G. Okay, that's all. Don't overthink it. This gets changed to a 2. Because we're doing question 2. This was question 1. All right. So it's the exact same thing, except it's new numbers. So for A, we said 211 and 06. For B, we said 02 and 54. For C, we said 10, 1 and 01. For D, we said 7, 8 with 05. For E, we said 7, 6, 0, 4. That's weird. It's the exact same point as last time. And for F, we said 0, 3, 3, 7. And then we have to add the G in. So I'm going to copy F and make it a G. So I'm going to go box to F. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to relabel it a G. Everybody okay? Anybody super confused? Should be straightforward. We're just copying and pasting and changing up the numbers. G. G was at 11.3 and 0.1. Okay. Just like before, we're doing the exact same thing we did before. Doesn't matter which Y we start at. Does it matter which Y we start at? First parentheses or second parentheses? Does that matter? Does it make a difference for our answer if we start with the first parentheses versus the second parentheses? Well, does which parentheses you choose to start with change your answer you're going to get? Does it? No, because remember we figured it out in F, it was the same thing. So it doesn't matter which parentheses we start with. It doesn't. So where do I want to start with my Y's? Give me my top level that we want to do. What are we going to say for the top level? What two numbers are we subtracting for the Y's for A? It doesn't matter which order you pick them. I just need, what's it going to say? What are we changing this top level to? What are my two Y numbers? Put a minus sign between them. I need the whole thing. What's the top level going to say? Oh, 11 subtracting 6. Now, since I started at the 11 for the Y's, I have to start at the number for the X that was with it. What was with the 11? 2. That is the only piece that matters. Whichever one we start the Y level, we have to go back to the same bubble for the X level. Okay? Now we do our math. What's this going to be? 5, 2. Okay, go do our B. What's our Y level going to change to? 4 minus 2. So we have to change the bottom level to say what? What's with the 4? So what's that subtraction going to look like now? Not 2, 0. 5 minus 0. Okay, so go do the math. What do we get? Go do the math. What do we get? 2/5. Okay. See, what's my top level going to become? One minus 1. Okay, what's my bottom level going to become? Ten minus 0. Okay, do the math. What do we get? 0 over 10, which means the same thing as 0. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, no big deal. What's our top level changing to? So these are actually quick. You just have to get in a rhythm. 8 minus 5. Okay, what's the bottom level going to say then? Someone else other than Moses be answering, please. 7 minus 0. Go do the math. What do we get? 3/7. Okay. Someone else other than Moses, please answer, because he's done enough. This is basic subtraction stuff. So what are we going to say? Did this one change at all? Are the numbers any different? Are my y's still 6 and 4? Are my x's still 7 and 0? Yes. Oh, that one's done. Just to be smart, let's go do this. 4 subtracting 6. 0 subtracting 7. To show that it doesn't change anything. That would have been a -2 divided by, oops, back up. -2, we have to highlight it. Divided by a -7, which is the same thing as 2/7. To remind us that it doesn't matter whether we start with bubble 1 or bubble 2, because those negatives will cancel each other out. When we're looking at negatives, it doesn't matter if the negative's on the top or on the bottom, it's still negative. Okay, so we're on F. What's our top look like? Not Moses. What's the top going to look like? Seven minus 3. What's the bottom going to look like? 3 minus 0. Because what was with the 7? A 3. We do not subtract what's in one parentheses from what's in the same parentheses. This was the y of 7 and the y of 3, the x of 3 and the x of 0. This is the kind that could mess you up because you think, oh, I'm just subtracting a parentheses, but we're not. Because if you look at this one, my numbers were 4 and 6, and 4 and 6 are not in the same parentheses here. Okay, what's my top say? What's my fraction going to be? 4/3. Okay, now we're going to go do G. Oh, I have to erase that thing. We don't have a crossover this time. Last one. Okay, tell me what the top's going to become. Tell me what the bottom becomes. What math am I doing? What are we going to say for the top? Does 1 minus 3 work for the top? Is one of the y's 1 and the other one 3? Yes, so let's just change the bottom. What's with the 1? 0. Oh, then we just have to change this number here to what? That's the only number of the 4 that we haven't used. -11. And what fraction would this be? -2 divided by, remember you have to highlight it, by -11, which simplifies to what? Because negative divided by negative goes away. So it doesn't matter which parentheses you start with. You just have to make sure for the x's you go back to that same one. Okay? So in the chat, we need to say A and what its slope is, B and what its slope was. We need to get those into the chat, please. Put A and put its slope, put B and put its slope. Once you put one in the chat, zoom above, come back up to the top. So somebody else should be putting B in and then moving to the top, and somebody else should be putting C in and moving to the top. Oh, these were both 1s. This is like a 1A and a 1B. Somebody else put the slope of line B. Somebody else put the slope of line C. Somebody else put this so that you can put one in and then move up to the top. Keep going. I only have A and B. I need all the way to G. I need all the way to G. C is not a slope of 10. And we need to talk about C, because this says 0, 0, 10, 1. Is that what we used for C? 0, 0, and 10, 1? No, we did not use 0, 0, and 10, 1. So this one's not correct. Go back to the bottom. We got told a wrong answer for the second point. So this is 1/10, not 10, 1/10. So the slope of A is 5/2. The slope of B is 2/5. The slope of C is 1/10. Somebody else put the slope of D, then move up. Someone else put E, then move up. Someone else put F, someone else put G. Come on. We need to get these slopes into the chat. Keep going. Once you put one in, move up to the top. We need E, F, and G still. We need E, F, and G still. There's E. Now we need F and G. Someone else put F. Someone else put G. Not Moses. Leslie, go put one in for me, please. Either F or G. And Manny, put one in. Either F or G. I don't care which. You guys normally participate more, and you haven't been doing a huge amount today, so I need you to get yours in. Which one is that, Leslie? F or G? Make sure you tell me which letter. Okay, so Manny, go do G. What's my slope for G? Manny, what's the slope for G? Put it in the chat. Okay, I guess you don't want your participation points today. That's fine. I'll go on to Charlie. Put it in the chat. What's the slope for G? Charlie, what was the slope of G, please? Yes, Charlie, what is the slope of G? Go scroll to the bottom. Tell me in the chat. Thank you, Lex. Come on, guys. Seriously. So we're doing the same thing we did up here. We're explaining what it means. Okay, so go grab our comment. We're going to move down below with it. Each one of these is going to get its comment. Because we have to understand how slope works. So what's going on for A? As X increases by how much? How much is the X increasing by? 2. The Y increases by 5. And we're going to copy this comment down to all of them. Okay, we're going to do the comment for all of them. So what would B say? What would slope B's be? As X increases by 5, Y increases by 2. Okay, now we'll do C. What's C gonna say? These are straightforward and easy. Can we get these done quickly, please? X increases by 10, Y increases by 1. Keep going. Somebody else get me D. What are we gonna say? Seven, Y increases by 3. Someone other than Janessa, she's just done 2. Somebody else do one. X increases by 7, Y increases by, thank you. 2, thank you. How about F? X increases by 3, Y increases by, okay, and then G. What are we gonna say G is? X increases by 11, Y increases by 2. Now, think of this as in hills, okay? The hills you're running on, okay? If the X is big, it's a low hill because it's a stretched out, you're only going up a little at a time. If the Y is big, then you're going up a really steep hill. Like F is a really steep hill. If you're a runner, that is not a hill I want to be running on. I'd rather be on C, where I'm up a little bit up, but not like gasping. Now they want these in decreasing. So our big has to be on the left this side. Do we have any improper fractions? Yes. How many improper fractions? 2. So then we have to compare them, and we have to have a common denominator, which is why we did the practice with our fractions earlier yesterday and last week. 5/2 and 4/3 can't talk to each other because they're not the same denominator. What would their common denominator be? So we're doing this. Oops. We have to change 5/3. Nope, 5/2, sorry. And 4/3 into the same denominator. What would be the target denominator that we would use so that we could have them both the same size pieces of cake? So if I were going to add these together, what would I do to change these? How would I change the 5/2? What would I be multiplying by? So that I get a common denominator between a 3 and a 2. I'd be multiplying by 3/3, right? Just like we did when we were doing our fractions, subtracting and adding. So it turns into what? Top times top, bottom times bottom. What does 5/2 change into? 15 over 6. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to the 4 over 3. What are we multiplying by? So it's a common denominator. 2 over 2. Making a new fraction of what? 8 over 6. Okay. So we were just using our fraction rules to turn these into common denominators. Okay. Now we're going to look at the graph. We're going to look at the graph. 15 over 6 is clearly a bigger number, right? 15 is bigger than 8. And if I look on the graph, A looks like it's sharper, it's taller, almost like it's almost straight down, right? So A is my biggest, which is the 5 over 2. F was my next one, right? That's 4 over 3. So we're getting smaller. So we're looking that we're going from super steep and we're going downward. So it gets flatter and flatter and flatter. So A is the highest. It's the one that's almost just straight up and down. F is the next sharpest, right? Now we have to look at our proper fractions because there's no whole numbers. And our proper fractions go 2/5, 1/10, 3/7, 2/7, 2/11. But if we look on the picture, we can see them as they come closer and closer to flat. Yes? So what's the next one that comes closer to flat from F? Which one's the next one that looks closer to flat from F? So it's a little bit steep, but not, nope, not D. It's a little bit taller of a mountain. That would be our 2/5. Our 2/5. And we could go over and do the same thing with our fractions to make them all common denominators if we want. Do we need to do that? Did that help, changing them to common denominators? Because sometimes our eyes don't necessarily see. So we have our fractions 2 over 5. We have our fraction 1 over 10. We have our fraction 3 over 7. Let me shift these a little bit. We have 2 over 7, and we have 2 over 11, right? These are my proper fractions. Yes? So we have to find a common denominator for all of these. And I could tell you it is the number 70. No, it's not. I lied. 70 would be for everything but this 11 guy. He throws us off. So what would the combination would be? 70 times 11 would be the best we could do. 70 times 11, 770. So the way we're going to do this, we're multiplying them all times each other. 5 makes 10, right? 5 times something makes 10. So we're multiplying 10 times 7 times 11. Okay. Go on the calculator. What is 10 times 7 times 11? What is 10 times 7 times 11? Someone put it on the calculator for me. Make sure I'm doing the right number. What is 10 times 7 times 11? Use your calculator, please. Okay, I was right. Now, the way we would create this is 5 times 2 makes 10, right? Let me do this one. 5 times 2 makes 10, yes? So for the 5, it's going to be 2 times 7 times 11. For the 10, it's going to be the 7 times the 11. Okay, so I am going to finish this piece so that it's done for the video. Okay, but I want you to turn in what you have for now for notes. This is fine. So turn in what you have for now for notes and have a good day. But I will finish. I need you guys to leave so I can finish on video for this piece. Charlie, I need you to go so I can finish. Okay, and this one was 7 times 11 to make it, because 10 times 7 times 11 is what we were figuring out. So that's multiplying by 77 over 77, which gets us 77 over 770. This one already has a 7, so it's at 11 times a 10. So that's multiplying times 110 over 110. So that's 330 over 770. The 2 is going to be the same thing. It's just going to be a 2 times the 7 times 110. Which is 220 over 770. And then the 11 is going to multiply by 10 times 7, which is times 70 over 70, which gets 140 over 770. Okay. And when I see these, I look at the tops, and that's how I arrange them least to greatest. So my biggest was the 330, so 3/7 would be next. 3 over 7 would be next. And then 308, which is 3/5. And then 220, which is 2/7. And 140, which is 2/11, and then the 1/10. And remember, when you're looking at these least to greatest, you're looking at getting closer and closer to a flat line. Okay, thank you.